The arena had a strange energy that night. Quiet in some places, trembling in others. Like the whole building sensed something was about to go wrong. Arisa LeBroc walked backstage with that distant, heavy look in her eyes. She wasn't smiling for the cameras. She wasn't waving to crew members like she usually did. She moved as if she was carrying a storm inside her chest, and every step made that storm louder. No one asked questions. No one wanted to be the reason the storm finally broke. Word spread through the hallways long before she reached the curtain. Arisa had crafted something new, something she wanted to debut tonight, something she hadn't shown anyone, not trainers, not producers, not even her closest friends. And that secrecy, that's what made officials nervous. When the crowd finally saw her, they didn't see a superstar. They saw a mystery unfolding in real time. Her presence was different, heavier, sharper, almost painful. Fans whispered to each other that something had changed in her, something real, something that came from outside the ring, something personal. The match started like any other. Then everything slipped into slow motion. Shadows stretched longer. The air felt colder. And Arisa moved with a calmness that didn't match her eyes. Then, in one terrifying moment, everything froze. Her opponent didn't get up. Trainers rushed in. Officials signaled wildly. The commentary team went silent, their voices swallowed by the shock of thousands of people holding their breath at once. Even Arisa stood frozen, hands trembling, expression unreadable, like she didn't fully understand what she just unleashed. That moment didn't end when the show cut to black. It spread through the arena, through the internet, through the entire wrestling world, like a crack running across glass. Nothing would be the same after that. Silence followed Arisa like a shadow when she stepped through the curtain. Not the respectful kind. No, this was the kind of silence that makes people afraid to breathe too loudly. Producers exchanged looks without speaking. Medical staff hurried in tight circles, whispering updates, none of them reassuring. Arisa didn't move. She leaned against a crate, hands buried in her hair, trying to understand the weight of what had just happened. When someone finally walked up to her, it wasn't praise they offered. It was a question wrapped in fear. Arisa, where did that come from? But she had no answer that would calm anyone. Officials gathered in a small office nearby, pacing, arguing, pointing at phones, as replay clips exploded across social media. Every second brought a new wave of reactions: shock, worry, fascination, anger, awe. Her name was everywhere, but not the way anyone expected. Some officials wanted her pulled from the road immediately. Others said it was a one-off moment blown out of proportion, but no one could deny the truth. The aura around Arisa had changed, and the world felt it. When she finally entered the room, the arguing stopped instantly. Her expression was soft, almost apologetic, but her voice carried that quiet intensity that only made people more uneasy. She said she didn't mean for anything bad to happen. She said she'd been working through something personal and channeled it into the story she wanted the fans to feel. She said she thought she had control, but the officials' faces said everything. Control was exactly what they thought she was losing. A trainer stepped in with an update. Her opponent was conscious but shaken. Relief washed through the room, but only for a moment, because now came the hardest part. Someone had to tell Arisa that her new move, whatever it was born from, might have consequences she never intended, maybe consequences she couldn't outrun. Even before Arisa left the arena that night, the world outside had already rewritten the story for her. Clips spread faster than rumors ever could. Fans slowed the footage, looped it, analyzed every frame, even though no one actually understood what they were looking at. What mattered wasn't the mechanics. It was the feeling, the shock, the collective gasp that echoed far beyond the arena walls. Some called it the most intense moment of the year. Others called it reckless, dangerous, or irresponsible. But there was one reaction no one expected: the overwhelming emotional attachment flooding in from fans who saw something deeper in Arisa's eyes. People began posting old clips of her smiling, trying to compare them to this new version of her. They asked what she was going through. They wondered why she looked like she was fighting herself more than her opponent. Fan pages turned into emotional support threads. Strangers wrote about how they saw their own struggles reflected in her expression. Heavy, determined, desperate. It wasn't just a wrestling moment anymore. It had become a mirror. Comment sections were split in half. One side terrified, the other captivated. Everyone felt like they were watching a story that wasn't supposed to unfold in public, but somehow had. And then the debates began. Should WWE ban her new move? Should she be suspended? Should she explain herself? Should she be protected from the pressure she suddenly had on her shoulders? Every hour brought a new headline, a new theory, a new emotional ripple. Arisa didn't just trend, she dominated the public conversation, becoming the center of a storm she never asked for. A storm that was now much bigger than wrestling. And while the world fought over her story, Arisa watched in silence, realizing this moment had already escaped her control. Arisa went home to a quiet apartment that felt smaller than ever. She didn't turn on the lights. She didn't open her phone. She just stood by the door, breathing slowly, as the weight of everything she'd held together finally started slipping through her fingers. She had always carried pressure well, legacy, expectations, comparisons, the unspoken belief that she was destined to be the next big thing. But this was different. This was pressure she didn't choose. Her family tried calling, managers tried texting, friends sent voice notes filled with worry, but she couldn't respond yet. Not because she didn't care, because she cared too much, and every message felt like another reminder that she had unintentionally rattled an entire industry. She finally sat on the floor, back against the wall, staring at her own trembling hands. They didn't scare her because of what they had done. They scared her because she didn't know why she had created something so intense in the first place. Was it stress? Was it exhaustion? Was it her need to prove something? Or was it something deeper? Something she hadn't dared to face? Her reflection appeared faintly in the dark window. Eyes tired, expression heavy, like someone carrying too many stories inside her chest. And that's when she realized the new move wasn't just a move. It was a message she hadn't translated yet. By the time sunrise started leaking through the curtains, Arisa finally opened her phone. Her notifications were a tidal wave. But one message stood out. Simple, short, from someone she trusted. Talk to me before they decide the story for you. She stared at the message for a long time. Because deep down she knew the story was already slipping out of her hands, and she wasn't sure how much of it she could get back. A week later, Arisa returned to the performance center, not with confidence, but with quiet resolve. Officials were waiting for her, expecting explanations, apologies, maybe even promises to tone herself down. Cameras weren't rolling, but the tension felt cinematic enough. She didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She simply asked for one thing: to address the team, not as wrestlers or staff, but as people who shared the same dream she did. So they gathered. Trainers leaned on the ropes, producers crossed their arms, teammates watched her closely, and Arisa stepped forward with a calmness that silenced everyone. She spoke softly, not about danger or moves or controversy, but about emotion, about carrying too much for too long, about burying things she should have dealt with, about how storytelling in wrestling isn't just performance, it's expression, and how sometimes expression slips out in ways no one expects. She told them the move wasn't created out of aggression. It was created out of pain she didn't know how to process. And when she debuted it, She wasn't trying to shock the world. She was trying to be heard. Everyone listened, not because of the words, but because of the vulnerability behind them. Even officials who had been ready to suspend her shifted uncomfortably, realizing they had misread the entire situation. Later, when the company released a statement, fans expected policy changes, restrictions, maybe a ban. Instead, they got something else. A video of Arisa standing in an empty ring, speaking candidly about emotional pressure and the importance of understanding what performers carry into the arena. The reaction? Silence, then applause, then something even more powerful, empathy. But the twist came at the end. Arisa hinted that she wasn't done evolving. Not her moves, not her story, not her voice. Her new finisher wasn't a danger. It was a beginning. And no one knew what chapter would come next.